Chapter 6. The Sixth Salvation Story. The Parable of the Unjust Steward. He also said to his disciples, "There was a certain rich man who had a steward, and an accusation was brought against him that this man was wasting his goods. So the rich man called his steward and said to him, 'What is this that I am hearing about you wasting my goods? If you cannot give an account of your stewardship, then you can no longer be my steward.' Then the steward thought to himself, 'What shall I do? If my master takes the stewardship away from me, I cannot work, and I am ashamed to beg. My plan is when I am no longer a steward, I can convince my master's debtors to receive me into their houses.' So the steward decided to implement his plan and called every one of his master's debtors, and he asked the first debitor, 'How much do you owe to my master?' And he replied, 100 measures of oil. So the steward said to him, 'Take your bill, and sit down quickly, and reduce it to 50. Then he said to another, 'And how much do you owe?' His reply was 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, 'Take your bill, and reduce to 80. The steward thought that through his actions, the master would commend the unjust steward, because he had dealt shrewdly with his debtors. For the sons of this world are shrewder in their generation than the sons of light. And I say to you, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. He who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and he who is unjust in very little is also unjust in much. Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is your own?" Luke 16, 1-12. This story is based on 3 nouns: steward, money, and small matters. Steward. It goes from the steward of a rich man to the steward of God's household. Money, from ill-gotten money to true wealth. And small things, the things of the Holy Spirit. Today, the things of the Holy Spirit may appear trivial to people, but these are all the means to enter the kingdom of heaven. Going from an unjust steward to a steward in God's house is a very unique way of writing. It turns an unjust steward into an example of a steward in God's house. We are not to emulate his unrighteousness, but rather his principles in handling affairs. A steward is someone entrusted to manage wealth. In the above example, the steward's unrighteousness is not embezzlement, but wastefulness, as he squandered the resources on meaningless things. The Supreme Lord is the greatest wealth owner because he possesses the most abundant spiritual estate, and we are all stewards within God's household. Likewise, if we squander or mismanage what we receive from the Lord, he will also remove our stewardship authority. People run their businesses based on their strengths and are adept at planning for themselves. People serving the Lord should make the best plan, not for their endeavors, but for eternal matters, and not for things of this world. While he was still a steward and had the authority to manage his master's estate, he showed immense favor to certain people. By doing these actions, the steward assumed that many people would welcome him into their homes when he was no longer a steward. So, he cleverly implemented his plan by summoning each debtor who owed his master. The recipients of his favor were those indebted to his master and unable to repay. He asked the first debtor, "How much do you owe my master?" And he said, 100 measures of oil. So he said to him, "Take your bill, and sit down quickly and write 50. The debt is usually paid in silver, but this debtor owed 100 measures of oil. He asked another debtor, "And how much do you owe?" And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, "Take your bill and write 80. This debtor also owed not in silver, but in wheat. So the master commended the unjust steward because he had dealt shrewdly. The sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. However, his actions were still considered dishonest, and people labeled him the unjust steward. The Lord's conclusion acknowledges his shrewdness in his actions, but the children of light are not to engage in such shrewdness or dishonest deeds. The sons of this world are shrewder in dealing with their generation than the sons of light. This is because the sons of light have a different mandate and purpose than the sons of this world. The matters they must handle in the flesh, the sons of light, often appear more awkward than the sons of this world. The sons of this world and the sons of light represent entirely different life forms. Even so, the sons of light cannot engage in the actions of dishonesty in their endeavors, but for eternal matters, and not for things of this world undertaken by the unjust steward. And I say to you, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. We must consider the Lord's designation of mammon as unrighteous. Money is the cleverest invention of Satan. In 1 Timothy 6, 9-10, it says that the love of money is the root of all evil. In 1 Timothy 6:17, it says that money is uncertain riches. James 5:1-4 says, "Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you." So how God's children handle money is a very serious matter. The true value of money is very pitiful. It only exists in this fleeting world. In the infinite eternal realm, it reaches a point of when it fails. The main point is to emulate the actions of the unjust steward, not his dishonesty and ways. It means transforming unrighteous money in this world into a positive use in the hands of the Lord. Make friends for yourselves by unrighteous mammon. The best use of our money should be for brothers and sisters, for the work of the Lord. This is because we will obtain benefits and inheritance in the eternal realm. In this story, oil represents the sweet and nourishing life of the Holy Spirit. Wheat means the abundant life of Christ. The most outstanding use of handling money is when we give it to brothers and sisters. In this world, we use unrighteous money for the church, the workers' mission, the saints, and all the needs of the Lord. Thus, when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. If you use the money for the Lord and the saints in this life, along with the oil, which is the sweet and nourishing life of the Holy Spirit, and the wheat representing the abundant life of Christ to supply the saints, then when money becomes useless, they may welcome you into the everlasting tabernacle. We must be very vigilant in understanding this statement. When we leave this world and go to the Lord, there will be many brothers and sisters who were helped by you, warmly welcoming you in heaven. They will express heartfelt gratitude to you, eager to be the first to welcome you into their everlasting dwellings. Here, it refers to the days of small things, which signifies the days of the Holy Spirit's work. Today, the things we do through the Holy Spirit may seem like small things in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of the Lord, they are more significant than all the great things in the world. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Small things pertain to the work of the Holy Spirit, and great things are those in the kingdom of heaven. When the kingdom comes, we will engage in great things. The capacity of saints to undertake various roles in the kingdom varies, and it depends on how faithful we have been in this life in the things of the Holy Spirit. Indeed, the same principle applies to the spiritual order within the church today. Those who are not faithful in small things will not be entrusted with greater ones by the Lord. The large vessels the Lord uses are individuals who have shown faithfulness in small things. Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? This is indeed speaking about money, and how you handle your finances is important. If you cannot use your money well, how can He entrust His genuine work and wonderful life to you? The value of these two things is incomparable. And if you have not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is your own? All external possessions, even our natural life, do not belong to us. The Lord gives everything. Only the spiritual life built by the Lord within us is truly ours, and it is to be preserved for eternity.